Long before human beings built houses, doors, or even understood the concept of security, ancient cavemen faced a brutal nightly reality. When the sun disappeared and darkness swallowed the land, the world transformed into a domain ruled by predators. For cavemen, night was not a time of peace. It was a test of survival. Sleep was dangerous because it meant closing one's eyes in a world where being unaware could lead to death. Large predators, such as saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, wolves, and massive snakes, hunted primarily after sunset. These animals relied on darkness, silence, and surprise, exactly when humans were weakest. Cavemen did not sleep deeply like modern humans. Their minds and bodies remained tense even while resting. Fear shaped their sleep patterns, forcing them to develop instincts that balanced rest with alertness. They learned through painful experiences. Members of their groups who slept carelessly often never woke up. Every lost life became a lesson etched into collective memory. Survival was not about bravery, but about awareness, caution, and adaptation. Unlike today, where sleep is associated with comfort and relaxation, caveman sleep was strategic. They understood that sleep was necessary to maintain strength, but they also knew that sleeping without preparation was a gamble. This forced early humans to observe patterns in predator behavior, night sounds, moonlight, and environmental conditions. Over generations, this knowledge evolved into survival systems passed down through observation and storytelling rather than written rules. The most important realization cavemen made was that survival was never individual. A lone human in the wild was easy prey, but a group was intimidating, noisy, and unpredictable. This understanding shaped how they rested, where they slept, and how they protected one another. Sleep became a shared responsibility. One person's safety depended on the awareness of others. Cavemen learned that trust within the group mattered more than personal comfort. Every night was a calculated risk. Cavemen accepted that danger could never be fully eliminated, only reduced. Their goal was not perfect safety, but increasing the odds of survival until morning. This mindset, respecting danger rather than ignoring it, became the foundation of human survival. Even today, modern security systems reflect the same ancient fear of vulnerability during sleep. The instincts developed by cavemen still exist within us, reminding us that sleep, at its core, was once a battle against being eaten alive. Choosing the right place to sleep was one of the most critical survival decisions ancient cavemen made. Unlike modern humans, they could not simply lie down anywhere and expect safety. Location determined life or death. Cavemen learned to read the land carefully, understanding which areas attracted predators and which offered natural protection. Open plains were extremely dangerous at night because predators could approach silently from any direction. Dense forests also posed risks, as thick vegetation allowed animals to hide until it was too late. Over time, cavemen began favoring specific types of locations. Rock shelters, shallow caves, cliff edges, and elevated ground became preferred sleeping spots. These locations limited the number of directions from which predators could attack. High ground offered visibility and forced animals to expose themselves while climbing or approaching. Narrow cave entrances acted as natural choke points, making it easier for humans to defend themselves if attacked. Archaeological evidence shows that many caves were used repeatedly over thousands of years. This indicates that certain locations earned trust through survival success. Cavemen remembered places where no one was taken during the night and returned to them generation after generation. These locations became primitive safe zones, not because they were comfortable, but because they reduced unpredictability. Cavemen also avoided areas near water sources at night. Although water was essential for survival, it attracted animals that came to drink after sunset. Sleeping too close to rivers or lakes increased the risk of encounters with predators. Instead, cavemen preferred sleeping at a safe distance and visiting water sources during daylight hours. Wind direction was another factor. Cavemen instinctively chose locations where the wind carried their scent away from predator pathways. Animals relied heavily on smell, and reducing human scent gave cavemen a small but critical advantage. Even a slight reduction in detection could mean survival. These location choices were not random. They were learned behaviors refined through loss and observation. Children grew up watching where elders chose to rest, and understanding that these decisions mattered. Sleeping spots became part of tribal knowledge, protected and respected. In this way, geography itself became a survival tool. Cavemen didn't build walls. They used the land as their defense. Fire was the single most powerful tool ancient cavemen possessed when it came to surviving the night. Before fire, humans were just another weak animal in the food chain. After fire, they gained control over darkness itself. Flames frightened most predators, as animals instinctively avoided fire due to its heat, light, and unpredictability. Even the bravest hunters hesitated when confronted with burning embers and flickering shadows. Cavemen learned not just how to create fire, but how to maintain it throughout the night. A fire that went out could mean death before dawn. They carefully selected dry wood that burned slowly and placed it strategically to provide light without spreading uncontrollably. Fire pits were surrounded by stones or ash rings to keep flames contained. These early fire management techniques show a deep understanding of risk. Light from the fire served another critical purpose. It exposed movement. Predators relied on darkness for surprise, but fire removed that advantage. Flickering light revealed glowing eyes, moving shadows, and approaching figures long before they reached the sleeping group. Even partial visibility increased reaction time, which often made the difference between survival and disaster. Fire also played a role in scent control. Smoke clung to human skin, hair, and clothing, masking natural human odors that predators could track. This unintended benefit made fire even more valuable. Over time, cavemen associated the smell of smoke with safety. Beyond physical protection, fire provided psychological comfort. Fear was reduced when flames burned nearby. This allowed cavemen to rest slightly deeper than they otherwise could. Fire became a symbol of safety, community, and survival. Groups gathered around it, strengthening social bonds and communication before sleep. Fire transformed humans from prey into something predators respected. It marked the beginning of human dominance over the night. Without fire, cavemen would never have slept safely. With it, they gained a fragile but powerful shield against the darkness. For ancient cavemen, sleeping alone was one of the most dangerous decisions a human could make. Solitary humans were weak, silent, and easy targets for predators. Through harsh experience, cavemen learned that survival increased dramatically when they slept together. Group sleeping was not about emotional comfort. It was about protection. When humans gathered closely, they appeared larger, louder, and more threatened to animals watching from the darkness. Predators preferred isolated prey, not a cluster of alert bodies. Cavemen slept shoulder to shoulder, often forming tight circles or semicircles around a fire. This formation reduced exposed sides and allowed everyone to benefit from shared warmth and awareness. Infants, children, elders, and injured members were placed in the center, surrounded by stronger adults. This natural arrangement showed an early understanding of protection hierarchy. The strongest did not sleep for comfort. They slept for defense. Another advantage of group sleeping was shared alertness. If one person stirred, coughed, or reacted to a sound, others would instinctively awaken. Sleep was light, broken, and shallow. This chain reaction ensured that danger was rarely faced alone. Even a single startled movement could wake the entire group within seconds. Group sleeping also confused predators. Multiple human scents overlapped, making it harder for animals to isolate a target. The unpredictable movements and noises of a group made humans risky prey. Predators prefer certainty. Cavemen offered chaos. Over generations, this behavior became instinctive. Children grew up sleeping among many bodies, learning safety through proximity. The idea that safety comes from togetherness remains deeply rooted in human psychology today. Modern families still gather in shared spaces during fear. This instinct was born in the prehistoric night, where survival depended on unity. Despite sleeping in groups, cavemen understood that complete sleep for everyone at the same time was dangerous. Someone always needed to remain partially awake. This led to the earliest form of night watch. Unlike modern guard systems, cavemen had no schedules or alarms. Instead, responsibility fell naturally on certain individuals. Elders, light sleepers, or those less physically active during the day. These watchers did not stand alert like soldiers. They sat near the fire, eyes half open, ears fully engaged. Their task was simple: listen. A snapped twig, sudden silence, or unfamiliar breathing could signal danger. If something felt wrong, they reacted instantly, waking others, feeding the fire, or grabbing weapons. Even those who slept were never fully unconscious. Cavemen evolved the ability to sleep lightly, waking instantly at strange sounds. Deep sleep was rare and risky. This constant alertness shaped human nervous systems over thousands of years. The reason modern humans wake easily to sudden noises is because deep sleepers did not survive long in the past. Night watch also prevented fires from dying out. Maintaining embers was essential. A dying fire meant darkness, and darkness meant vulnerability. Watchers ensured the flames stayed alive until morning. This system of shared vigilance reduced surprise attacks. Predators rely on stealth, but cavemen countered stealth with awareness. Even if danger came, humans had seconds to react, and seconds often save lives. Ancient cavemen quickly learned that predators did not rely only on sight or sound. Smell was often the greatest danger. Blood, meat, and food scraps attracted animals from long distances. Early camps that ignored scent control suffered deadly consequences. Over time, cavemen developed strict habits to reduce smells near sleeping areas. Food remains were never left where people slept. Bones were cracked open from marrow and then carried far from camp or buried. Blood-stained tools were cleaned with water, ash, or dirt. Even human bodies were rubbed with ash or smoke residue to mask natural odors. Fire smoke played a powerful role, clinging to skin and hair, confusing predator scent trails. Cavemen also learned not to urinate or defecate near sleeping areas. Waste attracted scavengers, which in turn attracted larger predators. Latrine areas were placed, downwind and far from camp. These behaviors were not hygienic in a modern sense. They were defensive. Scent control became survival knowledge passed silently from elders to youth. Mistakes were remembered painfully. A single careless act could bring danger to everyone. This awareness created discipline within groups. Understanding smell gave cavemen a hidden advantage. While predators had sharper senses, humans learned how to interfere with them. This invisible defense often made the difference between a peaceful night and sudden death. Ancient cavemen understood that awareness alone was not always enough. If a predator managed to approach quietly, humans needed something that could slow or expose it before it reached the sleeping group. This led to the creation of simple but effective physical barriers. These were not walls or fences in the modern sense, but carefully placed obstacles designed to interfere with movement and create noise. Cavemen used their environment intelligently. Thorny bushes were dragged and arranged around sleeping areas, especially near cave entrances or open sides of shelters. Thorns caused pain to animals and forced them to slow down, giving humans valuable seconds to react. Sharp sticks were driven into ground at angles, making direct charges difficult. Loose stones were deliberately placed so that any movement would cause sound. These barriers were not meant to stop predators completely. Few could. Their true purpose was early warning. A predator slowed by thorns or tripping over stones lost its greatest advantage: surprise. Once detected, predators often retreated rather than risk injury from a group of alert humans armed with fire and weapons. Barriers also worked psychologically. Predators learned that certain human camps were difficult and dangerous to approach. Over time, animals avoided these areas, preferring easier prey elsewhere. Cavemen unknowingly created reputation zones, where danger was reduced simply because predators remembered past failures. Children observed how these defenses were built and learned their importance. Even small tasks like placing sticks or gathering bushes became acts of survival. Defense was not a single person's job. It was collective preparation. These early barriers were the ancestors of modern security systems. Just as today's alarms and fences do not guarantee safety but reduce risk, caveman barriers increase survival odds. They show that intelligence, not strength, was humanity's greatest weapon against the night. In complete darkness, vision became unreliable. Ancient cavemen depended heavily on sound to detect danger. Over generations, humans developed exceptional awareness of nighttime noises. The forest, plains, and caves had natural sound patterns: wind through leaves, insects chirping, distant animal calls. Cavemen learned these patterns deeply. When something disrupted them, alarm bells rang in their minds. One of the most dangerous signs was sudden silence. If insects stopped chirping or animals went quiet, it often meant a predator had entered the area. Cavemen recognized this instinctively. Silence was not peaceful. It was threatening. Even today, humans feel uneasy and unnatural quiet without knowing why. This fear is ancient. Cavemen also learned to identify specific sounds: the soft pat of paws, the scrape of claws on rock, heavy breathing, or low growls. These sounds could be heard long before an animal was seen. Ears became survival tools sharper than eyes at night. Sleep itself adapted to this reality. Cavemen rarely slept deeply. Their brains stayed partially alert, ready to wake instantly. The state of light sleep allowed rapid response. A sudden noise could wake an entire group in seconds. Deep sleepers did not survive long enough to pass on their traits. Mothers trained children from a young age to remain quiet at night. Crying was quickly soothed, not ignored, because noise could attract predators. Emotional control became a survival skill. Fear was managed, not eliminated. This constant sound awareness shaped the human nervous system. Modern humans still react strongly to sudden noises while sleeping. These instincts are not weaknesses. They are ancient defenses that once kept humans alive in a world ruled by predators. Children were the most vulnerable members of any caveman group, and protecting them during sleep was a constant challenge. Infants cried, toddlers moved unpredictably, and young children lacked awareness of danger. Yet the survival of the group depended on them reaching adulthood. This forced cavemen to adapt their parenting in ways shaped entirely by fear and necessity. Babies were always placed at the center of sleeping groups, surrounded by adults. Mothers slept lightly, waking at the smallest movement or sound. Crying was addressed immediately, not out of comfort alone, but survival. A loud cry at night could draw predators from far away. Mothers learned to calm infants with gentle movement, warmth, and closeness. As children grew, they were taught strict nighttime behavior. Running, shouting, or wandering after dark was forbidden. These rules were not explained with kindness. They were enforced through fear and stories. Elders told terrifying tales of children taken by beasts to teach obedience. Fear became education. Children also learned by observation. They watched adults react to sounds, feed fires, and arrange defenses. Survival knowledge was absorbed naturally. Even play imitated defense and hunting behaviors. Childhood itself was preparation for survival. This discipline created emotionally resilient humans. Caveman children matured quickly because the world demanded it. Their ability to control fear remained silent, and follow group rules increased survival chances. The care given to children shows that cavemen were not brutal or careless. They were protective, strategic, and deeply aware that survival depended on the next generation. Nighttime parenting was one of the hardest tasks in prehistoric life, and one of the most important. Ancient cavemen did not treat every night the same. They understood that nature itself changed the level of danger after sunset. Weather, moonlight, wind, and temperature all influenced predator behavior. Through observation and experience, cavemen learned when the night was most dangerous and when allowed slightly safer rest. Clear nights with bright moonlight were often the most threatening. Predators could see better and hunt more efficiently. On such nights, cavemen increased alertness. Fires were kept brighter, barriers reinforced, and night watch more active. Sleeping positions tightened, and children were kept closer than usual. Even small movements were controlled to avoid drawing attention. Stormy nights, however, offered a rare advantage. Heavy rain, strong winds, or snowfall reduced predator activity. Scents were washed away. Sounds were masked, and visibility dropped for hunters. On these nights, cavemen could rest slightly deeper. The noise of rain covered human sounds, and firelight reflected strangely through mist, confusing animals. Storms were not comfortable, but they were safer. Wind direction mattered greatly. Cavemen positioned sleeping areas so that the wind carried human scent away from open terrain or predator pathways. If the wind shifted during the night, alert members noticed and adjusted fires or positions. This awareness shows a deep understanding of environmental dynamics. Seasonal changes also affected sleep behavior. During colder months, predators were more desperate, making nights more dangerous. Food scarcity increased risk. Cavemen compensated by clustering tighter, increasing fire size and reducing movement. During warmer seasons, they could afford slightly more relaxed sleeping arrangements. This environmental awareness allowed cavemen to adapt nightly strategies rather than relying on fixed routines. Survival depended on flexibility. Nature was not an enemy or a friend. It was a force to be understood and respected. Those who read the signs lived longer. Caves were among the most valuable sleeping shelters available to ancient cavemen, but they were also dangerous if used incorrectly. Contrary to popular belief, cavemen did not live deep inside caves. Deep caves limited escape and trapped smoke, making them deadly. Instead, cavemen preferred shallow caves or rock overhangs that allowed visibility, airflow, and rapid movement. Sleeping near cave entrances provided several advantages. Light from the fire reflected outward, exposing approaching predators. Smoke flowed outside rather than filling the shelter. Most importantly, humans had options: fight, retreat, or escape. Being trapped in darkness was worse than being exposed. Cave entrances also acted as natural barriers. Narrow openings limited predator access and allowed humans to defend with fewer weapons. Even large predators hesitated to enter confined spaces where movement was restricted and fire was present. Archaeological evidence shows repeated use of specific cave sites. Smoke-stained ceilings, layered ash deposits, and worn sleeping areas suggest long-term strategic use. These were not homes of comfort, but temporary shelters chosen for safety. Cavemen carefully cleaned caves. Food waste was removed, bones carried away, and sleeping areas kept clear. This reduced smell and disease. Insects and scavengers were discouraged, lowering the chance of attracting larger predators. Caves also served as communication hubs. Stories were shared, lessons passed, and warnings repeated. Knowledge about which caves were safe and which were deadly spread orally. Some caves earned reputations as death traps due to past attacks or collapses. Used wisely, caves increased survival chances. Used carelessly, they became tombs. Cavemen survived by understanding this balance. For ancient cavemen, sleep never meant disarmament. Weapons were always within reach. Spears, clubs, sharpstone, and fire-hardened sticks rested beside sleeping bodies. Even in rest, humans remained prepared for violence. Reaction time could determine survival. Cavemen trained their muscles through repetition. Grabbing a weapon in darkness became instinctive. Many slept holding tools or with hands positioned for immediate movement. This constant readiness blurred the line between rest and combat. Fire itself was a weapon. Burning sticks could be lifted instantly to scare or injure predators. Flames damaged eyes, confused senses, and caused fear. Combined with loud shouting, fire turned humans into unpredictable opponents. Tools were not only for defense, but warning. Striking stones together created sparks and noise. Thrown rocks disrupted attacks and bought time. Weapons were rarely used to kill predators. Driving them away was enough. Children were taught weapon awareness early. Though not combat, they learned where tools were kept and when to stay still. Survival depended on discipline. This readiness mindset shaped human behavior. Modern humans still keep phones, lights, or objects near beds at night. The instinct to be prepared during sleep is ancient. Cavemen survived not because they were stronger than predators, but because they were ready. Sleep was never surrender. It was controlled vulnerability backed by preparation. Ancient cavemen did not have written language, books, or recorded history, yet their survival depended heavily on memory. Knowledge was preserved through storytelling, observation, and repetition. Nighttime, gathered around fire, became the classroom of prehistoric humanity. Stories were not entertainment. They were warnings, instructions, and survival manuals disguised as memory. Elders told stories of deadly nights, of camps attacked, of careless sleepers taken by predators, of mistakes that cost lives. These stories were vivid and frightening, designed to stay in the minds of listeners, especially children. Fear was intentional. It ensured lessons were remembered. A child who feared the night would be cautious within it. Through stories, cavemen passed down crucial information: which valleys were dangerous, which caves collapsed, which animals hunted silently, and which behaviors attracted death. Memory replaced maps and manuals. Each generation refined the knowledge, adding new lessons and removing false ones. Storytelling also reinforced group identity. Survivors bonded over shared experiences. Trust grew as knowledge was exchanged. A group that shared stories survived longer than one that remained silent. This oral tradition shaped human intelligence. Humans evolved not just physically, but socially. Survival depended on listening, remembering, and teaching. Modern myths, legends, and cautionary tales trace their roots back to these prehistoric nights. The reason humans remember fear-based stories more vividly than happy ones lies in the survival past. Memory favored what kept us alive. Cavemen survived because they remembered danger. Ancient cavemen did not believe they had conquered nature. They understood their place in the world clearly. They were not the strongest, fastest, or most dangerous creatures. Instead of domination, they practiced respect. The night was not something to defeat. It was something to negotiate with. This mindset shaped their behavior. Cavemen avoided unnecessary risks after sunset. Travel was minimized, noise reduced, and energy conserved. They accepted limits. Overconfidence killed, caution protected. Respecting the night meant understanding predators without hatred. Animals hunted because they needed to survive, just like humans. Cavemen did not view predators as evil, but as dangers to be avoided or driven away. This realistic understanding reduced panic and encouraged strategic thinking. This respect also extended to environmental rhythms. Cavemen did not fight storms, darkness, or cold. They adapted to them. They learned when to rest, when to move, and when to hide. Survival was timing, not strength. The modern human desire to dominate nature contrasts sharply with this ancient wisdom. Yet many modern fears, darkness, silence, isolation, are echoes of prehistoric respect for danger. Cavemen survived because they knew fear was useful. It sharpened awareness and encouraged preparation. Those who ignored fear died. Those who listened lived. Ancient cavemen slept safely not because they eliminated danger, but because they reduced it through intelligence, cooperation, and adaptation. Fire, group sleeping, location selection, scent control, barriers, awareness, and storytelling formed a complete survival system. Each part supported the other. Remove one and risk increased. This system laid the foundation for modern human safety. Doors, locks, alarms, nightlights, security cameras, and community living are direct descendants of prehistoric defenses. The instinct to sleep near others, to lock doors at night, to react to strange sounds, all trace back to caveman nights. Even the concept of home evolved from temporary sleeping shelters chosen for safety. Civilization did not erase fear. It transformed it into structure. The boring caveman was not boring at all. His nightly routines were acts of quiet intelligence. Survival required discipline, not heroics. Every safe morning was proof of successful strategy. Humans are here today because cavemen learned how to rest without dying. Their legacy lives in our instincts, our architecture, and our fear of the dark. Sleep was once humanity's greatest vulnerability, and through adaptation, it became manageable. The night still carries echoes of danger, but humanity learned long ago how to face it together.